All right, we are back. We're going to dive into now quarterbacks who have large gaps between their performance when they're pressured versus dropbacks when they're not under pressure. Same methodology here in terms of EPA per dropback, adjusted yards per attempt, combined into one metric, the gap between the two. You know the whole deal. You just watch the first segment. You just listen to the first segment. You know what I'm talking about here. All right, let's talk about the quarterbacks who are weirdly much better when they're under pressure, or at least more efficient when they're under pressure as passers. I also excluded guys who like were bad in both, if that makes sense. Again, like if there was a big gap, like, oh well, they're much better when they're under pressure, but it's still terrible. We threw those guys out of the sample here. So we've got 4 quarterbacks. Spencer Rattler is 10th in these combined metrics when he's under pressure. He's 32nd when he does not face any pressure. Bryce Young is 15th under pressure, 33rd when not pressured. Jaden Daniels, 6th under pressure, 22nd when not pressured. And then Kyler Murray, 15th under pressure and 25th with no pressure. Weird list, Nate, but I'm going to throw this theory at you. This to me looks like some of the improv merchants in a weird way. Like,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like that was my first takeaway when I saw those 4 guys.
That was my takeaway too. Jane Daniels is probably the most explainable one here, the easiest one to explain. He is really good at scrambling and really good at running. Mm-hmm. I will say he's hurt right now, but one defenses have started to figure out, and Jaden has to really improve on this, is that when he does get moved off his launch point and he does start to run, he's got to throw once in a while. Like he just opts to run. He scrambles to run every single time, like seriously every single time. So like, and I noticed that even defenses that aren't that great, like the Cowboys, their defenders just sprinted straight at him. Like they didn't go like, arms up, and they didn't get juked out of their shoes. They just ran at him and made him start like keep running, I guess is a good way to put it. So that's just something I just kind of keep my eye on once he comes back. And under no pressure, Commanders passing game, I mean, look who's playing receiver and catching balls right now. So it's like they're kind of getting a pass for me a little bit in some regard. Totally. Like I did think they would take a step back this year, but some of this has just been kind of like, I mean, what do you want them to do? Like the number 1 receiver against the Cowboys was Zach Ertz. Like, it's you can't have him be the primary pass catcher in 2025. So like him, they're just a unique team right now. They're kind of going through the season through hell. Rattler is interesting because I thought a lot of his decision-making has been pretty good when he's not pressured, when he's just sitting in a nice pocket. And I think maybe, actually, no, now that I think about it, he does try some stuff as well. Like that's what something is good and bad. He needed to kind of create more explosive plays. I'm still super high on him because it's like, I think a lot of his processing has been good. Hasn't really been like trapped by anything where I'm like, oh, they got you there with that coverage, or they got you there with that. Like, why'd you throw it to that? It's been a lot of like, oh, okay, I see how you got caught there, or I see why'd you tried that throw. So him being good under pressure is actually more encouraging to me than anything, because I actually thought that would maybe be a little lower because, he's not the biggest guy. He's got balls. He's got cojones. Like he's willing to try some stuff. So like, I'm still super high on Rattler, even though he had, if you look at the box score, a lesser game because of some of the turnovers.
I was going to say, I wonder if these would have been a little bit less stark for Rattler if we did this last week. Because last week was the one where last week was the game, the first one all season where I felt like, all right, he's really trying to write some checks that maybe his bank account cannot fully fund here.
Yeah, they went. It was like after their first quarter and a half, he just kind of said F it. Like, and was just trying some stuff, which was great. Like he needs to have more games like that. But I think it's been so encouraging about him long-term is that he showed he can be the safer, efficient player. And also he can actually run a little bit better than I give him credit for. Like I actually think they do some design runs and scrambles for him that I actually think he's a little bit a better athlete, a better creator than maybe I even gave him credit for. His arm talent's undeniable. The first touchdown he hit at Chris Olave was an absolutely gorgeous throw, an unbelievable decision, a hard, like 5-7 guys in the league will do that on in a season, that type of throw. So really encouraging stuff. The Saints fascinate me. I know we talk about them a ton. Bryce Young kind of like makes a little sense because his best trait is creation. It's just that the no pressure stuff is supposed to be his other best trait. He's supposed to be a supreme distributor and all that. So that's kind of like, I think if you watch it, it's what you see. But it's also kind of like why I've been disappointed with him as a pro so far is just that I thought he'd be better in structure where it is 1-2-3 ball out, 1-2-3 able to do those, where I feel like everything has to be pristine for him to kind of try some stuff right now.
He's such a difficult quarterback for me to figure out because, this is a narrative in the fantasy streets this week. They're like, oh, Andy Dalton's going to come in here and like make this off. Like he's going to make Terra McMillan go. And I kind of don't agree with that just because this offense isn't, from a protection standpoint, isn't really set up right now. Their run game, obviously, as we talked about last week, kicks ass, and their offensive line's great in the run game. I think from a pass protection standpoint, the offensive line is much more hit or miss. And Bryce does make up for that at times with some of his work under pressure. Dalton is not giving you that. So I've been a little bit suspicious of the narrative that Dalton's going to come in here and make the thing look better because Andy Dalton's like 37 years old and he is what he is at this point. Yeah. So come on,
right.
Like, what are we talking about here? But Bryce Young does, it makes a little bit sense that he falls in this list. Let's talk about the guys who are much better when they're not pressured, because these are some big name quarterbacks and some interesting ones here. So again, quarterbacks who are much better when not pressured. These are guys with double-digit gaps in the rankings. Jordan Love, number 1 when not pressured this season, but 27th when he is under pressure. CJ Stroud, 10th when not pressured, 31st under pressure.
Sense.
Yeah, if you watch the Texans offense, we'll also add some context in terms of guys that have high pressure rates here when we talk about these guys. But Jared Goff, 4th when not pressured, 22nd under pressure. That's been his whole career. Josh Allen, 5th when not pressured, 20th under pressure. Mac Jones, 14th no pressure, 27th under pressure. Caleb Williams, 12th when not pressured and 21st when under pressure. I'm technically cheating with the final name here, Aaron Rodgers, because his gap is not as big, but it still averages out to 12th, no pressure, 21st under pressure. So a little bit of a cheating answer because it's the average here. So he's like got a 9-point gap, but whatever, who cares? It's the same average rankings as Caleb Williams. And that's another one we just talked about last week too.
Yeah, and like almost all of these are kind of explainable, I think. Like Love, Stroud, and I would say Caleb kind of fall in the same bucket for me. Those are quarterbacks that try stuff. So when they're under pressure, they can have some bad crop up, like because pressure to them is not, oh, I immediately check it down and I immediately throw it away or anything. It's 3 guys, 4 better or worse. I say better. They get pressure and they go, okay, I'm going to pressure you. So stuff can happen. When they kind of try stuff, and I know some people maybe not think of Stroud like that, but that's why Stroud can. When he's rolling, it can be really fun and exciting quarterback because he's going to push the ball. So those guys explain to me, Jared Goff, this is going to be his thing forever. When he's not pressured, he's one of the best operators in the league. I love watching Goff rip throws over the middle when he's really feeling it. Under pressure, he's not a creator. He gets moved off his spot. It all comes unraveled. I think everybody knows that. Josh Allen, kind of the same thing with Love, Stroud, and Caleb. He's going to try stuff. He's going to push the ball so he can get punished when he's moving backwards or he's, throwing off platform, even though I think over time leads to good stuff. It like can in these sample sizes or just, unfavorable circumstances or, ecosystems right now can kind of drop off for him. Mac Jones, same thing as Goff. So I kind of, same kind of thing no pressure. Yep. Boop, 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 throwing BBs under pressure.
Totally.
Power down because of some of the trait stuff that he has. Wow, I actually was able to nail all of them because those are like the 2 buckets to me with, how they deal with pressure. Some guys just are not creators in that sense. And some guys they can over those small sample size or a couple games get really punished when they do try to get into too much creation mode.
Yeah, and I think the actionable takeaway there from like the 49ers perspective is that when Purdy gets back, it brings just a different ceiling to the offense.
Correct.
Because he's a risk taker, not necessarily. I mean, he can kind of be gunslingerish under pressure, but he's definitely like he'll scramble around, he'll try to make things happen. Whereas, it's just like you said with Mac Jones, that's perfect. Just power down when the pressure comes in. Rodgers, and by the way, this also you can use this information from a fantasy standpoint, if you're like streaming quarterbacks like last week with Rodgers, well, okay, the Bengals are not going to get a lot of pressure on you because their pass rush stinks. So he can have like a vintage Rodgers performance. Packers this week, I don't know about that. Right. So that's sort of how you can use this information. And I think with Jordan Love, his pressure rate is actually trending down in terms of his dropbacks under pressure coming out of the bye week. And I think it's because they're getting a little bit healthier along the offensive line, which was a problem to start this year. So that's an offense I watch, and I really feel good about where they're headed. I love the way Romeo Doubs is playing right now. I think Golden, obviously, is he going to be a high targeted player that we want for fantasy? Maybe not, but he really impacts the offense. And this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers slow defense, I think he can rip off a couple of big plays. Tucker Kraft is a great answer for them under pressure. That's another thing too. I think for Love, just get the ball in the flats to Tucker Kraft. That's a nice answer that when he takes the answer versus pressure as opposed to the push it is available for him. Whereas for a guy like CJ Stroud, and I think sometimes Josh Allen too, I don't know that there's always an answer built in for pressure right now for these guys. A little bit more for Josh because they have some guys in the short area, but that's something that Stroud, like the routes are just so deep. And we talked about this yesterday, so we don't have to get too deep into it, but that's something that I think I'm curious what your thoughts are in terms of offenses here that have good answers versus pressure versus guys that have good answers, but they're just not taking them.
It's a great point with the Packers. The Packers have one of the most well-designed offenses in football. Just every aspect of it, the run game, the routes, the mode of attack. But the offensive the protection plan is always really sound. And so why that comes up is that they'll use chip help in unique ways. So like they really have expanded how they use chips and what plays they use chips on. And why that matters is that's who the tight end usually is, the running back. Sometimes they use receivers to do it, but that's Tucker Kraft. They'll do kind of an extended chip and then release late and release a little more depth than they traditionally are. So it's just kind of I agree with you. I'm still high on the Packers. I watched that game back against the Cardinals, and it was one of those where it's like, oh, you guys are so close. Like they're so close to kind of popping as an offense, like, and really just having these games right now. They have a high floor offense because of some of it can be frustrating. A lot of second down runs, a lot of that. But they're living right now on third down, which is a good thing that they can do that with Jordan Love in this passing game. But I think their first and second down offense is about to, and we're going to get those shot plays and the big plays on like that we expect out of this offense a little more consistently. They're close. They're a team that's really close. Like I upon rewatch, I'm kind of glad I watched them on Monday because I was like, oh yeah, Packers, you're still a contender. Like it's just like a lot of I know these games have been ugly and they're winning close games, but they're very close to really, really popping. So that's just a part of it. But great aspect about Stroud too, and just the frustrations that Texas offense is because of the protection plan or the lack of just thoughtfulness that goes into this offense right now. It's very, very cookie cutter, kind of the slow discussion again, but just a different version of the offense. A different offense, but a less exciting one. God. So it's just like, it's unbelievable. I know. And that's like even yesterday our discussion, I was just kind of like, man, I feel like I'm saying the same stuff I've been saying for 2 years now. And I'm like, but it's true. It's like, I don't have to change what I'm saying because it's just, the definition of insanity. But no, that's a great point though, is that he doesn't have a lot of safety valves, or when that he does throw hot, the defenses have a good answer for it. Like there's an instance where he tried to throw hot and signal hot to Nico Collins, and the Seahawks had a hot dropper into it. And that just shows that they're always just, we talked about one page behind. They're just one page behind of whatever defenses are doing to them. So that's a kind of a good stat of what's going on with the Texans.
All right, let's talk about the ballers no matter what. This is, again, similar to the ballers versus both coverages. These are the ballers no matter the situation. Again, it's 5 guys. Sam Darnold, just like we all thought, 9th when under pressure, 5th when no pressure. Lamar Jackson, 3rd under pressure, 2nd when there's no pressure. Drake May, once again, 6th under pressure, 5th when no pressure. Matthew Stafford, 8th under pressure, 9th not pressured. Daniel Jones, 2nd under pressure, 9th no pressure. So just if you're keeping track at home, Jordan Love and Jared Goff were in the ballers versus both. They leave this list, but Sam Darnold comes in, Matthew Stafford comes in. So once again, we're swapping Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford here on the list. I think that actually is really indicative of why the Rams quite literally swapped Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford. But okay, so when we look at those two lists, the ballers versus both, the ballers, no matter what in terms of pressure, what stands out to you versus like, oh, this is sustainable. And Lamar, obviously, Matthew Stafford, we know, but like,
Yes.
what do you
Yeah.
think is sustainable here from some of the more surprising ones?
May's sustainable. It's buy everything. I'm rewatching him too. It's just like, yeah, this makes sense because he's so athletic. He's such a good thrower on the move. Actually, that's really the thing with all these guys. They're all good off-platform throwers. Daniel Jones, I would say in the past, has been good on bootlegs, which are movement throws and everything. So it's actually maybe not something, because I've always thought he wilted under pressure. Like it just was one of those quarterbacks that just boom, their brain pops. I think that's more of a just his how much better he looks right now. And I think it's some of the offensive ecosystem. But again, we talk about well-designed stuff. I think that's sustainable. Like I don't think he's gonna be second the rest of the year, but more of like ninth and ninth, or something like that, eighth and eighth and everything, but like where it just kind of like evens out. But I do think that's sustainable because this offense is really good. Like, I mean, it's just one of these things where it's like, there's no shoe dropping. Like, do I think, again, is it going to be one of the best offenses we've seen since the new millennium? I don't know, maybe at this point, but no, I do at the very least think it's a top 5 offense and it has a good line, good answers for him, like a good run game. Yeah. So I think the ecosystem kind of, good protection plan. All these teams, maybe not so. I mean, May is just kind of his own freaky self, but like Darnold, has a good protection plan around him. That's why it's helped it out. A lot of bootleg throws, a lot of movement throws, a lot of plays he has the answers to the test. So I actually think that's kind of the peak of what he can be at because he still has those moments like he had against the Texans where he took the sack. But overall, he's been just getting rid of the ball. So I do think that is sustainable because of what he is doing. So I think really all of these are, even if they just come down maybe a little bit, because I just think what they are or what the offenses are, kind of good stuff going on right now.
Yeah, there's no rug pull, I think, waiting for the Seahawks. Could Sam Darnold have one of his like unplug the didn't we say this yesterday on 301? Like, he unplugs for just a minute, and he had a couple of plays like that against the Texans. I mean, like, why are we let's get rid of that football when we're in the end zone, buddy. But I mean, again, it's just that those are going to be fewer and far in between because this offense is so buttoned up. I mean, Daniel Jones, there, you said it, there's an answer on every single play. And there's not with Dayball's offense, it's like, no, there's a first read. Throw to the first read. That's it. Like, exactly. Just first read. Throw to the first read. And like, if you don't do that, you're going to come to the sideline and I'm going to have my red face. I'm going to be mad at you. But with Steichen's offense, it's like, okay, well, if that's not there, get here. Like, they're just trust where I'm going to show you to go. Like, it's just follow the yellow brick road, Daniel, and you'll get to the land of Oz. That's literally every single play is like that for him here.
Absolutely. All these offenses have heavy check kill systems, alert systems where they get into pristine, either the perfect play or the better play too. So these offenses, Lamar's his own thing and May's kind of his own thing, but McDaniels does a nice job of this too, where it's like maybe not the best play you've ever seen, but it's like, it's not a play where it's like, oh, they're screwed. Like, cause all these quarterbacks and these offenses can handle kind of a high verbiage and kind of maybe that next step kind of layers to their offenses too. So that's something that's worth noting.
Yeah, and this is where the takeaway from an actionable standpoint, from a fantasy standpoint, is these offenses, these are the ones where when we're getting into bye week hell, which we're in a hellacious bye week right now, start looking at like the ancillary players here if you're desperate, because things are clicking to such a good point and they have those alerts and they have those answers. Yep. Alec Pierce with the Colts, Kayshon Boutte with the Patriots, because on mid to bad offenses, they don't get to the X receiver and do all that cool stuff because they're keeping it to that first read and yada yada. But yeah, all right, well, we can get backside into the progression because there's so many good answers here, so we can access those players. And you've seen that with Pierce, you've seen it with Boutte. It's sporadic. It's not going to be 10 fantasy points every single week. Guess what? Nobody's like that at the receiver position. So that's the actionable takeaway for me. And I'm certainly curious if the Ravens can get somebody to emerge there, the Seahawks as well. Obviously, the Rams are the Rams. So that's the actionable takeaway. But really good instructive list of players, I think, in terms of the pressured versus non-pressured ones. That was a good one to break down there.